Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to an all-new edition of WAWR Week Radio Chats. Guys, we're currently being joined by my brother, Mr. IOTBA, Karray Bradshaw. Karray, welcome to the show, brother.
Man, shout out to everybody on here from that 214 to across the pond. Shout out to my guy Joseph. Shout out to my guy Lee. Shout out to everybody on WAWR Week Radio. Man, what's popping?
Well, I tell you what, guys, before we get everything started and announce all of our topics for this evening, we do have to remind everyone that this show is brought to you by the one and only FightSaga.com. Guys, for all latest boxing news, please go frequent on the daily and bookmark FightSaga.com for exclusive content by yours truly, Lee Cleveland and Mr. Karray Bradshaw. Guys, I tell you what, here are the topics du jour. We're going to fire them across the bottom. Canelo fires back at Oscar on Twitter. What's with the kitchen utensils? Then we're going to go into Jim Lampley is set to call Lopez versus Kambosos June 19th on Triller.
Yes, sir.
Boy, I can't wait for that one. I can't wait to talk about that one as well.
Yes,
Third topic of the day, May Paul, rules of exhibition are revealed. We're going to go over the odds. We're going to talk about, well, why is there a betting line for a clear winner when there's not going to be any judges or a winner if this goes the distance? So is everyone betting a draw? Okay, next one. Deontay Wilder doubles down on Glovegate accusations. And then last but not least, final flurries on Devin Haney's performance this past Saturday and his future at 135 pounds. What would you like to talk about first, Karray?
Man, let's just get into it, man. Them all great topics. Let's just go.
Well, I tell you what, let's fire off at, let's talk about Canelo Alvarez.
Yeah.
Guys, it was really... Oh, well, I tell you what, the bad blood between Oscar De La Hoya and Canelo Alvarez continues to boil over in the public eye. The latest flare-up between GBP chief and his superstar ex-client involves an Instagram video post in which Alvarez is shown teaching a young fighter a few tricks in the ring. And, well, De La Hoya didn't respond too favorably to it. I don't know why he's trolling Canelo, but this is what he had to say about it. Quote, "Please, this guy does everything wrong. Head up when he throws hooks, on his heels, flat-footed, what else? Oh, and he avoids twin Jamal Charlo," right? So, okay, and this is funny, guys, and this is, I think I've actually have a newfound respect for Canelo Alvarez because he's one of those guys that really wants to become more endearing, even more than he already is, to the American fight public. He wants to be that mainstream star. He wants to be the new golden boy, the guy that Oscar De La Hoya was. He truly wants to be that crossover fighter. So I have a lot of respect for him learning English. But I tell you what, it's not good news that he knows English for his detractors. This dude has some snap. So he responded very quickly. Said, "Oscar De La Hoya, do me a favor and go F yourself." And then on the bottom of his tweet, on his comment, he put a bunch of emojis, including a spoon, a frying pan with an egg, a hammer, 2 knives. Do you know what this is all about? Okay, well, I do, and so I'll tell you. So the reason why he added kitchen utensils, and this is a huge dig at Oscar De La Hoya, and obviously is, well, not so professional antics outside of the ring and outside of the workplace. Guys, and I will publish the article right here on the comment section, right? Let's do that right now. In case you guys want to check it out, there's the article. I just published it right now on the chat room. And apparently, Here, let's scroll back up here, man. Let me pull out this article. Apparently, there were images. Apparently, there were a group of Instagram models that were allegedly extorting Oscar De La Hoya back in 2018 with some graphic tapes. The two models partied with Oscar, got him drunk, and then took a video of him. And apparently, they were naked with Oscar De La Hoya, and they were shown on video sticking kitchen utensils up Oscar's rear end in the video. Yep. The two women reportedly contacted him a few weeks later, demanding $2 million in exchange to keep the footage private. Oscar De La Hoya called their bluff, and now we all know about it because they went public with it. So yeah, guys, this is very real, and apparently Canelo knew all about it, and that's why you see the frying pan with the knife, the spatula, the hammer. Yeah, you see all the kitchen utensils attached to it. So, Karray, what are your thoughts on all of this, brother?
I mean, shout out to Canelo, because one thing about a good marksman, he gonna know how to shoot back, and he gonna know how to shoot from long range. And
Boy.
And that shot Canelo took at Oscar De La Hoya, oh man, it was mind-boggling. So salute to Canelo for firing back. My thoughts on this situation is, I mean, when we look at it, we could clearly tell that Oscar is picking at Canelo, because Canelo is showing a younger fighter how to fight, and Oscar say, "Oh, he's doing nothing right, flat-footed, all of that." I get that, right? But then he bring in, and also he don't want to fight Twin Charlo.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I knew everybody was today. They were like, "Oh, Oscar is just sour because he not with Canelo no more." But see, one thing I understand about the sport of boxing, politics plays its part in this, right? And being Oscar De La Hoya, when he was Canelo Alvarez's promoter, he had to say all the right things. You supposed to say all the right things because it's just good for business, right?
Mm-hmm.
But now, since he's not with Canelo anymore, he could speak the truth on Canelo because they're not doing business anymore. So Oscar could really let his truth come out. And I think it's some truth into what Oscar De La Hoya is saying, because I look at Oscar De La Hoya different. Was the utensils thing funny, whoop-de-whoop. That don't move me with the utensils, or with him sniffing on the best coke in the world or drinking on the finest of liquors. That don't move me. What moves me is what I look at him and I see him and what he did in the sport of boxing, right? And one thing about the golden boy, Oscar De La Hoya, he never turned down no fights. He fought the best of the best. So when Oscar De La Hoya say that, it brings merit to it because he was this guy's promoter. And as a promoter, you're supposed to protect your fighter because, like you say, Joseph, at the end of the day, fighters fight, right?
Yep, that's it.
And the promoters work for the fighters. Oscar worked for Canelo, so it would be in his best interest, when I'm speaking in Oscar De La Hoya, to say all them things right about Canelo, because it'll be bad business if he say otherwise. But now, since they're not doing business together and he say he don't want to fight Twin Charlo, I believe Oscar De La Hoya. It ain't no way in hell anybody could tell me, Oscar De La Hoya is a fighter, that he didn't want to fight the best. Him as a promoter, he has to be a promoter and he has to look out for his fighters. But you can't tell me that Oscar De La Hoya, as cryptic as that message was, didn't come to Canelo and offer him that fight, and Canelo didn't say no. Because if he didn't do that, I don't think Oscar put out a cryptic message like that. Don't sit up here and tell me Oscar De La Hoya is sour because Canelo not with him no more. This is a dude who's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Trust me, he's living a great life. So he's not sour, because obviously, you'll be mad if you're any promoter and you lose Canelo. But this is Oscar De La Hoya. We're talking about the golden boy who has millions of dollars. Instead of y'all thinking he's sour, look deeper into it and understand its merit, especially coming from the golden boy on what he's saying.
Well, brother, I have several things to add to that. Mm-hmm. And you said it best when you were earlier when you were talking about this, and you said fighters want to fight. Mm-hmm. Well, and I know this for a fact because I worked with Don Chargan. He used to. That's one of the reasons why the show is called War Week Radio. It's after Don Warwick Chargan got Rez's soul. Hall of Fame matchmaker and promoter. He was at the time a senior advisor and a matchmaker for Golden Boy Promotions. And he told me firsthand that it was Oscar's or it was Golden Boy's doing. Do you remember when he dumped the WBC middleweight title in the trash and stayed as long as he could at that ridiculous catch weight of 155 pounds, purposely avoiding a fight with Gennady Golovkin? Mm-hmm. Right. That was all Oscar's Golden Boys doing, right? They understood that he wasn't where he needed to be before he moved up in weight. He still needed to work on a lot of things. Most importantly, cutting off the ring, closing the distance, and fighting effectively on the inside, right? Being the effective aggressor in the ring. And if you look at back in fights with Austin Trout, Erislandy Lara, Floyd Mayweather, he needed a lot of work in those areas, right? Well, they didn't feel comfortable moving him in a division with a lot of big men, where he would most certainly be the smaller, shorter guy with less reach, right? He'd be up against every opponent that he'd be up against would have the height and reach advantage against him, forcing him to be the aggressor. So they purposely held him back. Now, with that said, fighters just want to fight. Look, Canelo is a badass. He's the best fighter in the world right now. If it meant earning a career high payday, this guy would step in the ring with Godzilla. This guy doesn't fear any man. He's not ducking anyone. Okay, in fact, in the business of boxing, there is no such thing as ducking. There is a thing such as risk versus reward. Yep. But that's handled by the managers, by the promoters. That's not handled by the fighters. Fighters, in their mind, they believe they can beat anyone's ass. That's why they fight. So all of this stuff about ducking Jermall Charlo or Demetrius Andrade is just poppycock. Now, look, I know this for a fact, right? Because I confirmed this with my friend Ronnie Shields, right? He used to be on my show as well for 3 years. We had a show together. And I confirmed this with him when news broke last year. Oscar De La Hoya said, hey, you know what? Truth is, we sent an offer for a Cinco de Mayo fight in 2019 to Jermall Charlo. They turned it down. So we went ahead and rolled with Danny Jacobs instead. And Ronnie Shields confirmed it. And when I asked Ronnie, I'm like, well, why did you guys turn that fight down? That's Canelo. He goes, because it was a bullshit offer. I said, and at the time he was getting ready for a fight with Dennis Hogan and Jermall Charlo in Brooklyn. And I said, what was it? Was it around the same? Was it more than what you're making for Dennis Hogan? He goes, no, it was around the same price. He goes, oh, hell no, we're not going to fight Canelo in a huge money fight in Houston, Texas, in Jermall's backyard, just for that kind of money. And so I understand why they turned it down, but nonetheless, they still made them an offer, and Team Charlo turned it down. So I don't think there's any validity in this. Hey, you're purposely avoiding a guy like Jermall Charlo, especially when you consider he's the current WBC middleweight champion. Canelo's best weight is at 168. Now, if Charlo actually moved up to 168, trying to get that Canelo fight, calling him out, and he still turned him down, then I would start thinking, well, maybe there's some truth to that. But until that happens, Jermall needs to focus on cleaning out his own division. Golovkin, Andrade, Ryota Murata, whomever. You know, unless you want to fight, unless you want to move up to 168, you're not serious about fighting Canelo Alvarez. Those are my final thoughts. Karray, you have any final thoughts on this?
I mean, no, that's a great point you made. Especially having a source in Ronnie Shields, can't deny that. But my thing is, we don't know if that was the one and only offer that they sent Ronnie Shields. They may have sent him another offer, or Ronnie Shields and them may have been like, okay, we want this, and but it's just a lot to go with it. But I take you for your word on that. Especially speaking coming from Ronnie Shields, the horse's mouth.
Yeah, I mean, and everyone knows, guys, if you're serious about fighting, and again, the Ronnie Shields confirmed this, but the offer was sent to Al Heyman, right? To be honest with you, I don't know if that was just a throwaway offer to try and get Danny Jacobs to take the fight for less money. Because it sounds to me, from what Ronnie described to me, it sounded like it was just a throwaway bullshit offer. That they were serious about fighting Daniel Jacobs the entire time. That's what he told me. That he didn't think it was a serious offer from what Heyman described to him, right? Now, it is true that Canelo Alvarez had no interest in defending his title against mandatory challenger Jermall Charlo at the time. And that's when he was given... That's when the franchise belt was established for Canelo Alvarez. Guys, keep in mind, before 2019, there was no such thing as a franchise title from the WBC. They made this for that Canelo situation, right? So there is that. So it remains
because they know
guys.
Canelo brought big money, huh, Joe?
Huh?
Because they know Canelo brought big money to the WBC, huh?
Oh, that's right. Look, man. When you become as big as Canelo Alvarez, belts mean absolutely nothing. It's like the sanctioning organizations need you more than you need them, right? So they will go out of their way to appease the biggest moneymaker in North America. Well, you bet your ass they will, right? So, and everyone knows that. Everyone's going to be lobbying for a fight. As we just saw with Demetrius Andrade, everyone's going to be trying to get the Canelo sweepstakes, right? Everybody. No matter what their platform is, everyone's going to try to lobby for a Canelo fight. Just like they did with Floyd before him, just like they did with Oscar De La Hoya before him, just like they did with Mike Tyson before him. Okay? Fighters don't fear anyone. They want the smoke, but they want to be paid, right? That's it. So I tell you what, your final thoughts on that, brother, before we move forward.
Oh, no, let's move forward.
All right. Well, the next one, and guys, this one just warms my heart to be able to report this. It's been reported Jim Lampley has signed an agreement with Triller and will call on his first fight with Triller, Teofimo Lopez versus George Kambosos Jr. on June 19th. Oh boy, I tell you what, this, if you were on the bubble about purchasing this event, this one should put you over the edge and make you want to buy this event, because once again, Jim Lampley, in my opinion, he's the greatest to have ever done it. He's a Hall of Famer, and he is the voice of boxing. He was the voice of boxing for decades, right? Yeah, and he hasn't announced a fight in almost 3 years since HBO got out of the boxing business. Karray, are you excited to hear the man, Jim Lampley, call this championship fight at 135 pounds?
Oh, I'm super excited. And with him not calling the fight in 3 years, one first thing come to my mind is he's going to be super fresh. So we're going to get a lot of bang, 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 bang. Like you say, when it comes to Jim Lampley, man, everybody has to be in agreement with this. He is truly one of a kind. That there is no commentator in the sport of boxing who is more who can make you feel like you in the game, and you watching it from your TV screen, you feel like you right there. When you talking about change the game, man, Jim Lampley came in and he elevated it. Just to know that he's coming back to the sport of boxing. Joseph, I would have to agree with you. If y'all was on the edge of buying this pay-per-view, like Jim Lampley, knowing that he's coming back and you're gonna get him calling that fight, just knowing Jim Lampley gonna be there, man, this is a must buy. This is great for the sport of boxing. Like, I'm not gonna sit up here in front to everybody here on War Week Radio. A lot of people sit up here and y'all complain about boxing, but right now we got a lot of great things going on in boxing, and just the thought. And it ain't even no thought no more. This is reality. We know Jim Lampley signed a multi-year deal with Triller, and he's going to be on Teofimo versus Kambosos. Unbelievable.
Yep. Oh my gosh. So this is what Jim Lampley had to say. And he told Kevin Iole of Yahoo Sports, he said, talking about Teofimo Lopez, he said, I haven't met, covered him, nor have I met him. But part of what intrigued me about this opportunity was a chance to get in on the ground floor, covering a guy who could be the next big star of boxing. I watched his fight versus Vasyl Lomachenko last year, and I couldn't help but be impressed that not only was Teofimo able to beat him with relative ease, and I didn't think it was a close fight, but it was impressive. The psychological command that he had in the ring, the event didn't throw him in any way, shape, or form, reminding me of a young Floyd Mayweather. I've been waiting for an offer to come along that was meaningful, and I would say doing a Teofimo Lopez title defense at this stage is very meaningful, significant, and it's a great way to get back into the sport, end quote. I tell you what, once again, and Lampley, he's been around the sport for such a long time, and he's been around the biggest stars of boxing, obviously being on the HBO platform. Do you like his parallels to a young Floyd Mayweather Jr., Karray? Do you agree with him?
Oh, I love it. And I agree 100% with Jim Lampley. That's a hell of a assessment. And that's just like going against the grain. This is a guy who's been doing this for decades. This is a guy who done seen every type of style of fighter, or whether you think this fighter going to be a superstar or not. Jim Lampley done seen it. And for Jim Lampley to give high praise of Teofimo Lopez like that, it's real. And not only is it real, if we look at Teofimo Lopez and what he's been able to accomplish in his young career, if you look at his resume, especially the last 3 fights on his resume against Nakatani, Richard Comey, and Vasyl Lomachenko, it's just unbelievable. And when Jim Lampley say he reminded him of a young Floyd Mayweather, I would definitely agree. I wouldn't say stylistically, but I would say he has that aura about him that all superstar fighters have. And I think he nailed it right on the money when he spoke on Teofimo.
Yeah, it's going to be a tremendous main event. And it's funny, when asked today, in fact, in an interview, what he thought about Devin Haney's performance this past Saturday, do you still want that Haney fight? He said, look, I'm completely dialed in to George Kambosos Jr. I don't even want to talk about Devin Haney. We'll address that as soon as this is over, but I can't stand the way George Kambosos has been running off at the mouth, shoving me at the press conference. I was going to actually let him go some rounds, but he goes, I want to get this over with as quickly as possible. I want to make a statement and make an example out of him. This one isn't going past the first round, end quote. Do you believe him, Karray?
I don't believe him because it's rare that a fight go be ended by the first round. So I don't believe that. I believe Kambosos will make it past the first round, but I would tend to agree with him on that he's going to win this fight. My thing with Kambosos is I don't know enough of him. We could do our research, and I done watched a lot of fights. But Kambosos is a guy who's from across the pond, who nobody knows over here in North America, right? We could watch his fights and see him do good against other guys, but we haven't seen him face the top talent, and it's predominantly the top talent has come from the United States of America. So I'm picking Teofimo just because I done seen Teofimo prove who he is. It's Kambosos' big moment to show up and show out to let North American market know exactly who he is.
Well, I'm very familiar with George Kambosos, and this style could be problematic for Teofimo Lopez if he cannot time him and catch him as he's coming in trying to close the distance. He's a tough guy, strong-minded, undefeated. He's a guy he almost reminds me of an Australian version of Ricky Hatton. He's a guy who's going to use a lot of weird movement, a lot of strange footwork, and he's going to try to work his way on the inside and smother Teofimo's offense. If he is successful in doing that, a la Ricky Hatton versus King Kostyazu, he could give Teofimo Lopez problems, because we saw the problems that Lomachenko gave him in the back half of that fight, working his way on the inside and then smothering his offense. He's been watching the last half of that fight. And yeah, George Kambosos is a tough guy who he was sparring partner for all the best fighters at 40, 47, 35 for years. He was even Manny Pacquiao's sparring partner.
250 rounds.
That's right. He's a tough guy. So this is a guy with a confident, undefeated mindset. And I'll be very surprised. I will say this, though. I will be fully on board with Jim Lampley's sentiment and characteristics of description of Teofimo Lopez if he does, in fact, knock George Kambosos out in the first round. If he does that, I'm saying this now, Teofimo is going to be the next Floyd Mayweather of boxing.
Hey, and I agree with you 100% on that. But to get back to Kambosos, you made an excellent assessment of that. This is an undefeated guy who don't know how to lose. And you have to understand, when you don't know how to lose or you ain't never tasted defeat, you coming in that fight fully confident. And what we seen out of Kambosos early when they did the press conference, he showed he didn't budge when Teofimo tried to put his bully tactics on George Kambosos. So I agree with your assessment about that. This is an undefeated guy who don't know how to lose, who is a tough cookie. And like, just by watching a lot of his fights, I truly agree with you. He has an opportunity to where he could come in here and he could make this fight very interesting. But like, I'm with you all the way with Jim Lampley. If Teofimo, not even if it's the first round, Joseph, because, that's just a fighter's talk. Teofimo, we can see he a high-strung fighter. So that's fighter's talk. Even if it's within the first to 6 rounds, if he beating him up and get a devastating knockout on him, bro, I will look at him just the same.
Well, I'll say this. Yeah, I'll say this. If he does what he did to Richard Comey, a much bigger, stronger lightweight than George Kambosos, yeah, I'm on board. I'm on board. I'm on the Teofimo Express. If he can do that with George Kambosos, and once again, this is an undefeated, strong-minded, very confident lightweight fighter, right? This guy doesn't know how to lose yet. A lot of people think that he should have lost a decision to Lee Selby last year. Well, they have a good case, actually. When you go back and watch that fight, Lee Selby was able to control range for most of the fight from the outside. Teofimo doesn't box like that. He doesn't work behind the jab that way. He doesn't fight that way. In my opinion, this style matchup could be problematic for Teofimo Lopez. But, guys, we'll dig deeper into that matchup. The closer we get to the fight, we stop several weeks. We're several weeks removed from that. Let's go back to Jim Lampley. Karray, I do blow-by-blow commentary for some cards. I also do ring announcing. I used to announce all of Emmanuel Stewart's live broadcasts for his Kronk Gym fighters. And it's not easy. Now, when I was doing it, I didn't have the luxury of having Roy Jones or Larry Merchant or Harold Letterman or Max Kellerman or anyone, right? I had to do it all by myself. But it's still not easy. Jim is the very best, knowing when to turn up the emotion. knowing when to, um, I mean, as quickly as he rattles off and does the math in his head, rattles off CompuBox stats during the round, the insight that he brings to the ring, to the broadcast, and his voice, his delivery, his cadence, everything. He is the very best to have done it. And I've been studying announcers, been studying the craft for decades. No one is better than Jim Lampley. He is a credit to the sport. He's the best to have ever done it. And in my opinion, boxing is much better off with him in the sport. My only wish is that he would have gone to DAZN, where he would have been calling more fights. Triller doesn't put on very many fights. I mean, think about this. In 8 months, this is their third event. But does this mean the hiring of Jim Lampley, does this mean that they're all in the boxing business? That they're going to start putting on serious fight cards like this one on the 19th? This is what Jim had to say. Quote, Triller wants me to call legitimate prize fights. They want me to bring my image as a serious guy to those moments when they engage in serious fights like this. End quote. What do you think of this? Do you think this is a good or bad thing for Triller? Because when you think about it, Karray, up to this point, Triller's made a lot of money and have become a big hit for not being the traditional boxing coverage, right? Is this something that is going to backfire, or do you think this is something that is going to galvanize all boxing fans?
Oh no, I definitely think it's going to galvanize our boxing fans, and like what you stated about Jim Lampley, you feel he the best to ever do it. I feel he the best to ever do it. This one thing that you tell me, and you preach this all the time. A fighter is born with power. Either you're born with it or you're not.
Yep.
Jim Lampley was born to be special, like he is at announcing. It was
Amen.
in him. It was in him from the day his mama had birth with him, right? And you make another great point, Joe. You say it was already doing successful the non-traditional way. That just show you where Triller at with it. They ahead of the game because they like, okay, if we're doing better the non-traditional way with all the casual fans and the people who aren't really fans, let's go get the guy. Let's go get the guy who everybody know. I don't give a damn if you sleep. You can have your eyes closed. If the TV on, if you hear that voice, that's going to make you wake up and pay attention. Let's go get the guy to excel what we got going. So I salute Triller. Triller is guns blazing. They shooting. They is really trying to make a statement in boxing. Now, I don't know, Joseph, to answer your question, if this means that they're going to bring on more streaming, more fights. But I will say this, Jim Lampley is up in age now. So this probably works out perfect for Jim Lampley, where they have 2 to 3 pay-per-views a year, to where he isn't obligated to do as many fights as he previously had to.
Yeah, I'll say this, guys, and I stated this on your show last week, right? We're being joined. Thank you for joining us, Undisputed 1808. He says this, Oscar De La Hoya will end up the next Don King if he doesn't stop with the stupid antics, going back to our last topic. And then this, I will definitely pay to watch Canelo whoop up on Oscar De La Hoya. Thank you, darkness has fallen. You know what, brother? And unfortunately, that he would. Oscar De La Hoya is better off fighting the MMA guys. The guys ranked number 200 in the world. He doesn't want any of that smoke, man. He doesn't want any of that. But, I get it. Going back to our topic, our last topic, yeah, Oscar, he's better off just being the image, whatever's left of it, right? There's nothing wrong with him doing what Floyd Mayweather's doing with Mayweather Promotions. Just signing the checks, being the image, and letting other people run the company. There's nothing wrong with that. If he wants to spend all of his time on the golf course while Eric Gomez and Roberto Diaz run everything, that's his prerogative, and everyone should respect it, including the fighters. The Golden Boy is the guy who gets the sponsorship. He's the guy who gets the TV dates, right? His image. He's the guy who attracts the talent. All of the Hispanic fighters want to fight under his brand. At least they did when he had TV dates, because he's the Golden Boy. I don't know why everyone has such a problem with him partying, drinking, saying stupid shit all the time. I really don't know why everyone has a problem with it. Do you, Karray?
No, I don't, because Oscar De La Hoya, he isn't a fighter anymore, and he's a promoter. And, he's a grown man. He could do what he wanted to do. Like, now, if he was a boxer, if he was still boxing, everybody would have all the right to criticize him, because in this sport, we know you don't play boxing. Well, he's a promoter now. And we understand Oscar De La Hoya being the name. Oscar De La Hoya don't have to be at the events. He hired people around him to handle all the business for him. He's the Golden Boy. So he could do what he want to do, because he's not running hand-to-hand business. He has people in place to take care of that for him.
Yeah, I don't understand what the problem is, but I will say this. The less Oscar De La Hoya is involved, the better off Golden Boy is going to be. Because when people expect him to be at events, because I've covered a ton of Golden Boy events, and there have been cases where he hasn't even shown up to the weigh-ins or the fights, and everyone expected him to show up. So he is, okay, and not to be mean, he's known as being somewhat of a flake in the industry. It's hit or miss with Oscar. Sometimes he'll show up, sometimes he don't. But I will say this. Whenever I've covered a Golden Boy event, the fans still love the guy. So I tell you what, it's going to be interesting to see who he announces to fight on Triller. And I tell you what, if anyone is praying that this Triller event does well on the 19th, it's Oscar. He needs the TV dates. DAZN has slashed all of his TV dates. Like, he doesn't have hardly any longer, and he still has a roster of 80 plus hungry young fighters that need those dates for development. As it stands right now, he's having to ask other promoters with TV dates to feature Golden Boy fighters on their fight cards. Like, look at the main event this past Saturday, right? Devin Haney versus Jorge Linares. Linares is a Golden Boy fighter.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Golden Boy as it stands right now is solely dependent on other promoters and their TV dates, just like DeBella Entertainment, just like everybody else. This is a problem for Golden Boy Promotions.
And you know what? As big as Oscar name is, now this word dupe, him drinking and doing all the extracurricular activities does, stop him from accomplishing a lot what he could accomplish. Because with him being the Golden Boy, him being the name.
A very good point.
If Oscar wasn't doing all these extracurricular activities outside the ring, it would be easy for people to depend and believe in Oscar and be ready to sponsor him, because his name is so big. So when I look at big sponsors out there, when they're looking at Oscar, I understand they don't trust the guy, because he has a history of doing extracurricular activities. That's not a good look for their brand if they were to come on board. They don't.
Speaking of a cold one, brother. Woo! But that's no. I'll say this. I'll say this, brother. Look, you're absolutely right, Karray. If he wants to be the shining image of Golden Boy Promotions, stop doing stupid shit. Yeah. Dude, you don't need to be shacking it up with two hookers in a hotel room, man. having them videotape you while they're stuffing a spatula up your rear end. Stop it. Just cut it out, man. Dude, what are you thinking? De La Hoya, what is wrong with you, brother? Dude, you are your own worst enemy. Cut it out. Quit being a knucklehead. Like when he was on the last Triller pay-per-view. Oh my gosh, just the boneheaded things that came out of his mouth. And that was just after 2 or 3 drinks. Could you imagine this guy going on a bender? What kind of stupid decisions he makes? Dude, cut out the heels and the fishnets. Cut out the spatulas and the forks. Just stop it, dude. Just stop it already, man.
And I can understand why Oscar do get a lot of criticism like he do, because him doing all them extracurricular activities is the reason that he's in the position he's in, and the reason why he lost a lot of good fighters, because he won hand on hand business wise. So when you say, do Oscar need to be involved more, I would say absolutely, because we know how it went last time when he didn't have his hands in the pot all the time.
Yep.
His brother-in-law. His brother-in-law. I want everybody here from the 214 to across his brother-in-law, Richard Schaefer. So, like, I think Oscar do need to be hands-on. I think he do need to show up at these events, because at the end of the day, when I think about the Golden Boy, he still is the Golden Boy. Gonna always be in my heart. I'm gonna always remember Oscar as a little kid coming up, watching him, and just the aura about him. But it is fading away because of a lot of things that he's doing outside of boxing. That's not a good look. It's fading away, that aura.
Yeah. You know what? You're absolutely right. Say what you want about Bob Arum, but at 89 years old, he's still in the office. From what Bruce Trampler said, he's still in the office 5 days a week from 8 to 6. And that's why he is the Hall of Fame promoter, Bob Arum. But I tell you what, do you have any final? Well, I'll say this about the Triller. Let's go back to the Triller topic, right? I'll say this, brother. This really hurts my heart to say this. And guys, I urge everyone to invest in this Triller. In this Triller product on June 19th. This is huge for boxing, because it looks like they're investing in real fights, real fighters, real fight cards, right? As what's being shown on this fight card on June 19th, right? And this will be very bad for the sport if this is a big financial flop. And my biggest fear is that this is going to be a massive financial flop. Guys, if you look on the boxing calendar, there is so much competition surrounding this. They had a perfect date on June 5th. There was no competition for this Saturday. And unfortunately, Steven Espinosa and Floyd Mayweather just pulled a fast one, decided to put it in the same city on the same weekend, June 6th, Mayweather versus Logan Paul. A shitty exhibition that does nothing for the health of the sport. Right? This is so, guys, please purchase this Triller event, because there are so many fighters that are going to depend on these Triller fight dates, right? And if they take a financial bloodbath here, I don't know if they're going to want to invest in boxing any further. So I strongly urge everyone to purchase this event coming up on June 19th. Final thoughts on this, Karray?
Yeah, I doubled down on that. I encourage everybody from the 214 to across the pond to buy this fight, to pay for this fight. You have a lot of things surrounding this fight. You have Jim Lampley, Roy Jones. You have a big-time main event. You got Teofimo Lopez. Teofimo going to really show us who he is if he's ready to take that next leap into superstardom. So I double down on that. I encourage every boxing fan for the sport of boxing to purchase this event on June 19th on Triller.
And there it is, guys. So we look at the fight card. We move now to the fight card that potentially just made Teofimo Lopez versus George Kambosos bomb on the 19th. Because when you look at all the competition going on the 19th, you've got the return of the monster Naoya Inoue on ESPN. Then you've got the return of Jamal Charlo on Showtime. Then you've got the return of Jaime Munguia on DAZN. Then you've got Chavez Jr. versus Anderson Silva and Chavez Sr. versus Camacho Jr. on pay-per-view. There is so much competing with this Triller event, in my opinion. I'll be very surprised if it does over 300,000 purchases. Very surprised.
Oh, yeah, I agree with you 100%.
So Mayweather, Logan Paul coming up this Saturday. Karray, honestly, I don't even want to cover this event. Like, Lee's asked me to write several articles, like odds articles and that sort of thing, for this event. I really don't want to do it. I really don't, man. This event means nothing to me. It doesn't do anything for the business. This is all about Floyd making money, and this is going to hurt the Triller platform. This is going to hurt the Triller platform. Another platform that's investing in the sport of boxing. And when you look at, did you see Logan Paul? Did you see his media workout today?
Oh my God, Joseph! Did I see that clown show? Absolutely, I seen it.
Oh my gosh! Look, say what you want about Jake Paul, but he can actually fight a little bit, right? He can actually fight a little bit. Dude, this is. But Logan Paul? Oh my gosh, man. Oh, geez, dude. Logan Paul doesn't even know how to throw a punch. Floyd is going to wipe up the floor with him. Floyd is going to whoop his ass. Guys, don't be surprised if Floyd Mayweather takes his ass out in the first round. Like Logan Paul, they were showing him working mitts. He doesn't even know how to throw a punch. This guy doesn't stand a chance. Honestly, dude, this is a complete waste of time. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, if this fight go longer than 30 seconds, bro, like, I'm disappointed in Floyd Mayweather. Like, now, this is a fight where a guy shouldn't last no longer than 30 seconds. This Logan Paul dude shouldn't be in the ring with Floyd no longer than 30 seconds. If he's in I know it's entertainment and we already know that, right? But Floyd acting like he taking this serious. They trying to put this to the public like this. If this dude lasts longer than 30 seconds, I'm done with Floyd Mayweather. I'm done with him.
What's
There's no way after seeing this dude lose against KSI. He lost against KSI. This ain't like this dude lost to a YouTuber. And they're trying to sell this to us as the public like this is a meaningful matchup. Man, if this guy lasts longer than 30 seconds, I'm done.
Yeah, this is meaningless. This is a joke. And it's an insult, man. I mean, like I said, I know everyone has a problem with his brother, but I actually don't mind his brother because he actually can fight a little bit. And he's actually whooping the shit out of MMA fighters. I dig it. He's a troll for the MMA. And I love it because I can't stand Dana White. Hey, man, more power to you, Jake Paul. But Logan, this guy is a stiff. He's terrible. And when you look at the odds, they don't make any sense. Floyd Mayweather is only a -700 heading into this. Shocking.
Man, that's bullshit.
Shocking. Okay, and once again, and this is just one book, because there are some books that actually have Mayweather listed as a 40-1 betting favorite, which is a little more realistic, because Logan Paul has no chance. But one book has Logan Paul as a plus 450. Think about that, guys. A plus 450. Now think about what this means. Last Saturday night, the odds for Devin Haney and Jorge Linares, right? In that fight, Devin Haney was listed as a 12-1 betting favorite. Jorge Linares was a 7-1 betting underdog. That means most people putting money on this fight believe Logan Paul has a better chance of beating Floyd Mayweather, the greatest defensive fighter of our generation, than Linares had in defeating Devin Haney. Fight fans, have you guys gone crazy? Seriously, have you guys gone crazy? This doesn't make any sense. Oh my gosh. So guys, and once again, I don't understand these odds, because we're going to read the rules for this, right? And here's the first one. The rules for the exhibition. Rules and regulations for exhibition between Floyd Mayweather Jr. and Logan Paul. This Saturday at the Hard Rock Stadium in Miami, home of the Miami Dolphins. No winner and no judges. There won't be a winner declared at the end of the fight should it go 8 rounds. So how can you have any odds for a winner if it's an exhibition with no winner and no judges? That means that both men make it to the final bell after round number 8. It's going to be declared a draw. So with that said, knockouts will be allowed. Even with no official winner, there could still be a stoppage. This could either come by a knockout or at the referee's discretion. If he feels one fighter is taking too big of an ass whooping, he can step in and call a halt to the bout at any time. Next, there's going to be 8 3-minute rounds, right? None of this 2-round nonsense like there was in Mike Tyson versus Jones. These are going to be 3-minute rounds. 8 3-minute rounds. Also, Mayweather and Paul will each be outfitted with 12-ounce gloves, which is much larger than usual, right? But neither man will be wearing headgear during the bout, like in most exhibitions. And guys, there's a weight limit for this fight. Apparently, Logan Paul will not be able to weigh more than 190 pounds the day before the fight. If he comes in weighing heavier than 190 pounds, he's going to get fined $100,000 for every pound he goes over. So you're talking about a guy like Floyd Mayweather, who's going to be coming into the ring probably weighing about as much as a junior middleweight. And he's going to be taking on a cruiserweight who's over 6 foot. Guys, don't be fooled by the height and the size disparity. Mayweather is going to eat this guy's lunch. He is going to whoop his ass. Logan Paul does not even know how to throw a proper punch. He has no balance, no footwork, and he's going to be paired with the greatest fighter of this generation. Your final thoughts on this, Karray?
Man, this is a mockery to the sport of boxing. Like, just the rules around it, man. This is just pathetic. And, this is why, Floyd Mayweather and I understand T.O. when he say Mayweather need to step aside, because he knocked T.O. a real good boxing match. There's young fighters coming up off the block. Well, it's Mayweather. He could do that. He could bully people like that. But for this is a mockery to the sport, man. We don't support this fight. Nobody support this fight. This ain't for boxing. This is some WWE. That's what this is. Because at the end of the day, you look. This is one thing I know. Floyd Mayweather is undefeated, Joseph. There's no way he's going to let this fight go 8 rounds. So they can say, oh, so they could have that in the headlines. Oh, Floyd, he went 8 rounds with Jake Paul. It lasted the whole way. You think Floyd going to want, because if it can't be no clear winner, you think Floyd going to want them to say that he's a draw, that he had a draw? No. So listen, if you this is just a mockery to the sport, Joseph. It's a mockery to the sport. If you look at everything that's surrounding it, like we know Floyd ain't gonna be no draw. It's Floyd. Floyd got too much pride to take a dive. So we know at the end of the day, Floyd Mayweather is gonna be the winner. Realistically, we already know that. But in reality, we know he's going to be the winner. It's not going to go 8 because they're not going to let him say, oh, he drawed with a YouTuber. Floyd not going to take a dive because he got too much pride for that. So I think Floyd just going to carry him for a couple of rounds and then hit him with a body shot.
Yeah, I think that was the original plan. But after the Gotcha Hat episode, I think Floyd, I'll tell you what's going to happen. Floyd is going to lay the wood to this kid. He's going to whoop his ass. Because before this, the Gotcha Hat incident, right? Floyd said, you know what? I'm not even going to train for this. I don't have to train for this guy. I'm in good shape. No, I'm not in fight shape, but I don't have to be in fight shape for this guy. I could do this in my sleep. I fought the best fighters, right, in my era. I fought all of them, and I beat all of them. I could take care of this guy with my eyes closed. But after that incident, boy, he's going to send a message, and he wants to make an example out of this kid. He is going to whoop this kid's ass, and it's not going to go past the first round. Mark my words, brother. And what's going to happen immediately after, if Jake Paul is successful in defeating Tyron Woodley, right? He is going to call out Floyd Mayweather for revenge, to avenge his brother's ass whooping, and you're going to see that fight in the fall, Mayweather versus Jake Paul on Showtime pay-per-view. Guys, this is nothing. This is nothing but a huge infomercial for Mayweather versus Jake Paul in the fall.
Let me ask you a question, Joseph.
Yep.
So do you think, because that's exactly where I was going with it next, but since you went there, let me ask you this. Do this pay-per-view do over 2 million buys? Because I know that's where it's going with Mayweather and Jake Paul. Do Mayweather versus Jake? I think it do over 2 million buys. Mayweather is a smart mother. Shut your mouth.
Well, look. I don't think Logan Paul pay-per-view does 2 million.
Not Logan. I'm talking about him versus Jake because we know.
Yeah, look, dude, that one does probably about as well as Conor McGregor. In my opinion, that probably does between 3 and 4 million. That's a huge break the bank fight. One, everyone wants to see Jake Paul lose. 2, well, everyone wants to see Floyd Mayweather lose. Everyone's like, someone's going to witness one of those guys losing. It's a win-win for these guys, for these fans who actually give a shit about this stuff. So, of course, everyone's going to tune in because one of those guys, the 2 guys who are the very best at wearing the black hat, the 2 biggest trolls of boxing, they're gonna see one of those guys lose, get their comeuppance.
Do you think it's set up to where Tyron Woodley, respecting him, is going to take a dive? Because we know that's what.
No, dude. He's got no chance to win. That's why he was chosen. Look, man, none of these MMA fighters, they basically have the skill set of an amateur who is just learning the craft, right? These MMA fighters. They're not boxers.
So all Jake Paul got
they
to do is
square up in front of their opposition. There's a reason why. Look, you remember back in the late 70s, early 80s? I don't know if you're old enough to remember this, but there was a comedian named Andy Kaufman, all right? And he used to wrestle women. And he loved being the heel. You're a huge WWF fan, right? WWE fan.
Huge.
Okay, so you
Yes.
know what the heel is, right? That's
Yes.
what you call in kayfabe, in the fictitious wrestling universe, kayfabe. That's what you call the bad guy, the heel. The good guy's always called the baby face, right?
Mm-hmm.
Andy Kaufman loved being the heel, and he would pick on women just to piss off the crowd. He would wrestle women and pin them and just like talk nasty to everybody, right? He loved doing it. Well, that's what Jake Paul is. He's a modern day Andy Kaufman. He loves being the heel. And rather than picking on women, he's picking on MMA fighters because he knows they don't know how to box. Look at the way they stand. They immediately square up in front of their opponent, not realizing that you're there to be hit. Tyron Woodley is going to get his ass whooped. And more than likely, it's not going to go past the second round. There's a reason. Jake Paul has a good thing going right now. So if anyone thinks that Jake Paul is going to be facing a legitimate boxer anytime soon, well, they're living in fantasy land. Because he is making a shit ton of money picking on MMA fighters.
And that was our setup with the gotcha hat, right?
Yep. That's it. Look, guys, there's a reason why Jake Paul left Triller and signed with Showtime. And once again, it's that Heyman thing, right? Heyman, the way he always hooks in fighters, right, to sign advisory deals with Al Heyman and PBC. He says, look, man, I can't guarantee that I can get you this fight, but I will guarantee that you have absolutely no chance to get this fight unless you sign with PBC and Al Heyman. Thanks for playing.
So when is the Woodley and Paul fight?
Let's find out. Let's go on the internet. Jake Paul, Tyron Woodley. When is it? It's going to be... Okay. Let's, like you like to say, let's scroll up your articles.
Yeah, scroll up them articles, man. Shout out to everybody here on War Week Radio. Y'all make sure y'all hit that like button. Y'all hit that share button so we can reach a broader audience. Y'all make sure y'all hit that like, that share, and if you ain't subscribed, please subscribe.
Thank you for that, Karray. It doesn't say a date yet. I don't see a date. Hold on. Let me look.
You think they might try to sneak it on the Earl card?
Huh?
You think they could sneak it on Earl Spence card?
No, there's no. And now we're going to go back to the business of boxing. No way. Because this is a legitimate headliner. In fact, this is probably going to sell better than Spence versus Pacquiao. I know that's sad, isn't it?
I mean, no, I'm not going to say that because if these fighters will do what they're supposed to do, you know, we have to worry about these YouTubers coming into our sport, being able to be big commodities.
I found it. It's slated for August 28th.
That's 1 week after Spence.
Yep. August 28th. You've got back-to-back Showtime pay-per-view. Or no. I'm sorry. Fox pay-per-view is going to be Errol Spence versus Manny Pacquiao. And so you've got the very next weekend.
Oh, so they
Jake
putting
Paul
that Paul
versus Tyron Woodley
on pay-per-view?
Huh?
They putting that on pay-per-view too?
Jake Paul versus Woodley?
Yeah.
Of course.
Wow.
Dude, that's why they signed him. Look, no other fights on Showtime are going to be on pay-per-view except for Gervonta Davis. So you have all of these real fights, these real matchups, but you're going to see Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley on pay-per-view August 28th. Wow. You know what? I'll say this. I hope all mainstream fans purchase those events. Knock yourself out. Enjoy it. Because what it's doing is it's paying It's funding all of these real fights to be staged on regular subscriber Showtime. Thank you very much, Jake Paul.
Yeah.
So that's how I feel about that. I have no problem with it. The only thing I don't like about Mayweather versus Logan Paul is that it took the place of Kambosos versus Lopez happening on June 5th. That's a travesty. Basically securing a financial flop on June 19th. There's no way that this Triller event makes money. And I tell you what, like I said, I strongly urge all fight fans to purchase the Triller event coming up on June 19th. This is huge for the health of the sport.
And then you mentioned Charlo versus Castano is competing with that too, right?
No. It's the return of Jermall Charlo.
Oh, Jamal. Okay.
That's going to be in Houston, Texas, on the same day, right?
Yeah. I think it could be Jamal Charlo and.
Yeah, but it's the return of Inoue, also. And once
okay.
again, all of those events, Charlo, Inoue, Munguia, it doesn't cost you any more money if you're already a subscriber. Okay, Lopez versus Cambosos, the price has been increased $10. They're charging $59.99 for this event. Are you excited to see Charlo versus Montiel?
No, but I don't care about. I don't care about the extra 10. Look, I would have had a problem about the extra $10 before Jim Lampley signed the board, but now since Jim Lampley signed the board, I got no problem with that extra $10.
I'm on board too, brother. I'm with you. So I tell you what, we're already an hour into the program. We want to thank everyone for hanging with us, and let's go to the comment section. Our brother Muhammad, thank you, brother, for joining us this evening. Happy Wednesday to you, brother. And he says, De La Hoya just gave Charlo a payday because Canelo will not let people think he's been ducking him. You know what? Thank you for joining us, Muhammad. And I'll say this. It's inevitable that these two guys fight. What's going to happen is Canelo will sign a multi-fight deal with Heyman and PBC for the next 3 fights. So what you're going to see, guys, mark my words, you're going to see Canelo versus Caleb Plant. Then you're going to see Canelo versus David Benavidez. And then you're going to see Canelo versus Jermall Charlo in that succession.
Damn,
because otherwise, I'll say this, and here's the reason. Because there's no way Heyman is going to agree to a one-off. If Canelo really wants that IBF title, he's going to sign a multi-fight deal with Al Heyman and PBC. And there's not a damn thing Eddie Hearn or anyone else is going to be able to do about it.
Yeah, and at this point in Canelo's career, yeah, he's a superstar now, but like you can only be a superstar for so long if you don't give us them fights that we want to see. And we're going over the PBC. When you name them names, Plant, Benavidez, and Charlo, they're just 3 names that you can't deny that are good names for Canelo.
Those are great fights. Those are great fights. Now, I mean, come on. Realistically, think about it. Who on Matchroom, who on DAZN at 168 is that enticing?
Nobody.
Demetrius Andrade? Triple G?
But you know, it may sound crazy, but I think Triple G versus Canelo will do better than any one of them other guys at PBC. But you know, it's 3 guys at PBC.
Look, Gennady Golovkin is already out of play for 2021. He's already committed to fighting Ryota Murata on New Year's Eve.
Okay.
Right? He's fighting a scrub, a tune-up in August. Okay, so he's out of the equation. In my opinion, Canelo signs a multi-fight deal with Al Heyman and competes on Fox pay-per-view. And he signs a 3-fight deal, and he fights Caleb Plant, David Benavidez, and Jermall Charlo. In that order. Guys, get ready for it. It's going to be announced very soon.
You know that.
Don't be
Let me,
surprised.
can I ask you a hypothetical question? I know it's a far
Yes, sir.
I know it's a far reach, Joseph. So don't hold me to it. But it's just interesting if he do sign that 3-fight deal, that Earl Spence name not be mentioned, be put in the hat, in the hat. You know.
Well, here's why. Is Errol Spence prepared to move up and compete at 168?
For a Canelo payday?
For anybody.
I think for a Canelo payday, I think anybody will move up.
Hell no. Look, Spence is right now competing at 147. You can't tell me that he's prepared to jump up 20 pounds to fight Canelo Alvarez. No way. Nope. Now, I think he would fight Canelo, meet him halfway at 160, but guess what? Canelo doesn't need him. He's not going to move down for anybody. Not Charlo, not Spence, not anyone. He's already making huge money. He doesn't need any of these guys. Right?
True.
So he's not moving down or meeting anyone halfway. And why? Because he doesn't have to. He is the man. If you want to fight Canelo, you're going to have to agree to his terms, not the other way around. And that's the reality of it. So, guys, let's move on. I'm sorry.
You know
go
what
ahead.
I thought you was going to say? I thought you was going to say, and that's the bottom line, because Joseph Herron said so.
Oh, gosh. Dude, even though I'm from Texas, I'm not a huge fan of Stone Cold Steve Austin, brother. I'm sorry.
Are you kidding me, dude?
I am not. I am not kidding you, man. Look, everyone who loves WWE knows him as Stone Cold Steve Austin. But I remember when he was still with Flying Brian Pillman and one of the Hollywood blondes. What was his name? Stunning Steve Austin? Dude, come on, man. That guy was lame, brother.
I don't remember that. I don't remember him.
Oh, the Hollywood blondes. Dude, what a hotel, man. Dude, and that's why when he did the rattlesnake moniker and he was Stone Cold, I'm like, dude, this guy is still that hotel that used to prance around with Brian Pillman. Man, get out of here, dude. No, I didn't buy into any of that crap. I'm a huge WWE guy. I love classic wrestling. But no, I wasn't on board with Stone Cold. And that's the bottom line, Karray. So I tell you what, let's go back to our next. Let's go to our next topic. What does that say on the ticker, Karray? See that?
Oh, it says Deontay Wilder doubles down on Glovegate accusations against Tyron.
Oh my word. Karray, I couldn't believe it. And earlier today, it was published. Ray Flores, commentator and ring announcer for PBC, did an interview one-on-one with Deontay Wilder. And guys, if you didn't know it already, it was quickly exposed as to why Deontay Wilder prefers to do interviews with the very unprofessional, ass kissers, and racist mongers, race baiting bastards. What do you call them?
The
LD, whatever. What are they called? I thought that was okay. I see. I thought that was the gay and lesbians rights community. What are they called? LD what?
The
LGBT. What are they called?
The LDB strays.
Okay. Yeah. Whatever they like to call themselves. But there's a reason why Deontay Wilder prefers to be interviewed by those clowns. Because when he's interviewed by a professional like Ray Flores, he sounds like a damn buffoon. This guy doesn't need any more punches to the head. He needs to lay on a couch and talk to a therapist. In my opinion, though, you couldn't pay a therapist enough money because this guy just spews nonsense. Like he's better off just letting Sam Watson or even Malik Scott just talk for him. Because this guy, when you listen to him, it's cringeworthy. He sounds like a delusional idiot. Like, he almost sounds like a cult leader. Look, whenever you hear a fighter refer to himself in the third person, look out.
Yep.
I mean, Karray, before I keep going, what were your thoughts when you heard Deontay Wilder double down on the Glovegate accusations?
It just reassured me, Joseph, that this guy has went absolutely cuckoo for Cocoa Puff.
Oh
This
my
guy
God.
Deontay Wilder, it's something seriously wrong with his mental, because at the end of the day, we have to look at this for what it is. And like, I care about the person first, even though I don't like a lot of things Deontay Wilder say. I care about the person first. We have to really look at this dude's mental state and see if this dude is mentally ready to get in the ring. Because some of the things that he say, talking about, if you don't want to see a homicide, don't come to my fight, of what I'm going to do to this man. I mean, it's outlandish behavior, the way he looking, the way his eyes were twitching. Like, it's mind-boggling, and it's sad to look at Deontay Wilder and see how this one loss has affected him mentally and spiritually. Because the way this guy is talking and thinking right now is freaking unbelievable. And I don't think this guy should be able to fight this fight on July 24th without being cleared by actually seeing the doctor, because he really believes this in his mind, that
He's an idiot.
somebody did something to him. And I say, Deontay Wilder, you goof troop, we ain't seen no evidence of nothing. He gonna talk about all the people close their eyes to it, close their ears, and close their. Well, Deontay Wilder, it's because, dummy, it was never no proof out there. Oh, Joseph, this guy's unbelievable.
Okay, so let me give. And once again, I've been very consistent on this, and I've stated this on your show several times. Sugar Hill, Javen, he's a very good friend of mine, right? This is a guy who is as good of a person as you'll ever meet in the sport of boxing. Former police officer, right? This is a stand-up guy who was taught everything by the best trainer in the history of boxing, Emmanuel Stewart. So, guys, if you've never been in a camp with Javen, this is what he does. What he does is exact same way Emmanuel did since they changed protocol after the Resto incident, right? And Panama Lewis incident in the 80s. Ever since they changed protocol, where there has to be a representative from the other camp to inspect your gloves, inspect your hand wraps, make sure there's no funny business going on. So what Javen does is exactly what Emmanuel did. He will not only just let someone be there, he gives the gauze, he gives the tape, he gives the gloves to the representative of the opposing camp to let them inspect it. And he says, here's the gauze we're going to use. We're going to put 2 pieces. Okay? Feel it. Let me know when you okay it. Then we'll start to put it on. And then he gives them the war tape. And he says, this is the tape we're going to use. This is how much we're going to use. Inspect it. Let me know if you approve. If you do, we'll start to put it on. Here are the gloves. Let me know if you approve of these. If you do, go ahead and touch them, put your hand in them, whatever. And as soon as you give the okay, then we're going to put them on right in front of you. And it's not only a representative of the camp that's there, it's also 2 officers from the State Athletic Commission in the locker room at all times. And they're trained to spot abnormalities, right? This is nothing but nonsense. It's virtually impossible in the big events like this. It's virtually impossible to cheat. Deontay Wilder even doubled down on his tainted water theory, knowing full well that there was stringent drug testing protocol in place by VADA. Wait a minute, you still are under the impression that someone tainted your water, tampered with your water. Wait a minute, how did your drug test come out post-fight? Did you test positive for a foreign substance? No? Well, then you're stupid. You're full of shit. You're delusional, brother. You need a straitjacket, not a punch to the head. Good Lord, this guy is an idiot. I can't tell you guys, I can't stress how bad this guy is for boxing. Mainstream fans already believe, mainstream and casuals already believe that the boxing business is shady. We do not need a prize fighter walking around talking about how someone loaded the gloves and put an egg weight in their glove, tampered with his water, cheated. Look, here's the reality of it. Everything that Deontay Wilder was describing, oh, my legs felt weak, oh, I felt dizzy. Brother, you had never been a part of an event that big with that kind of media buildup. That was a super fight in the rematch. Fox and ESPN did a tremendous job spending almost $5 million promoting that event. It turned into a huge media undertaking. Deontay Wilder, all of those symptoms that you just described, brother, you just described anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
You had anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you felt weak. That's why you sapped your energy. That's why your energy was sapped.
Mm-hmm.
The same reason why Devin Haney faded in the end of his fight against Jorge Linares. Anxiety. Look, Emmanuel Stewart used to tell me all the time, the most important part of being in that fight is relax. You've got to relax. Because it doesn't matter how well you're conditioned, nothing saps your energy quite like anxiety and mental anguish. Unless you have that under control, you're going to run out of gas by the 12th round. There's a reason why Emmanuel Stewart always put on a music in a boombox before every fight with Lennox Lewis, because Lennox Lewis dealt with a lot of stress and anxiety before each and every fight. So what Emmanuel would do was put on some of Lennox Lewis's favorite music, and they would dance in the locker room before each and every fight to get loose and to be stress-free. Deontay, you might want to try doing some of that. Do something else but blame your trainer of tampering your water. You sound like a damn fool. And I'm sorry, as long as you truly believe this, nothing will change in a third fight. You are going to get your ass whooped. Like watching all the sparring videos, that actually gave me some hope that maybe Deontay Wilder is looking in the mirror. He understands that he needs to change certain things in order to be successful against a chameleon in the ring like Tyson Fury. But after listening to this interview, it's obvious nothing is going to change. He still believes that Tyson Fury cheated. It boggles the mind, Karray. Your final thoughts on this, brother, before we move forward.
Yeah, that hitting the mitts didn't do nothing to me, because everybody around the world from the 2-1 photo across the pond know the mitts don't hit back. Mm-hmm. You understand me? Now if I see some and the mitts ain't Tyson Fury, right? And the thing that bothered me the most, he steady bringing up Mark Breland. Joe, I got to give you a big old hand clap. That was an excellent assessment. Where was
Thank you, brother.
Where did the test? Where did the drug test? Did it show up? You had some of that juju in you, as you would say it was Deontay Wilder. See, it just so he, you know what?
Whatever the hell that means, brother.
Yeah, this is something that he is a big old country dummy. That's all it showed me. He is a big old country Alabama dummy. Because the audacity of him to put this bad vibe on our sport in boxing because he took one loss and he want to blame everybody else and start throwing racist rape baiting quotes
Oh,
talking about
jeez.
white privilege. That rubbed me the
Oh,
wrong way
when I heard that, I
because look,
cringed, man.
and let me tell somebody this disrespect to all white fighters or any white fighter whoever laced up a pair of gloves, but this ain't your sport. Predominantly, this has always been a Hispanic and black sport.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
just
Karray.
facts.
Yeah, Karray. When is a black guy gonna finally get a break in the fight game?
Yeah. Like Jesus, when they gonna finally, Joe, Joe,
Yes, sir.
when they gonna finally get that black man an opportunity to shine that he's
Oh my
waiting for?
gosh. You know what, dude? Look, the highest earner, the biggest earner in the history of the sport. Correct me if I'm wrong, Karray, is a black American.
Wow.
When is
Wow.
a brother
Hold
going
up,
to
hold up.
finally get a break in the fight game? Gosh, this
Man,
white privilege is
I
making
don't.
me sick.
Yeah, because white privilege to me is this right here, Deontay Wilder. You want to sit up there and say white privilege, the nerve of you. I don't look, and like all white people listen to me, especially the white people who deal with Deontay Wilder. How dare y'all even stay around this dude? The nerve of him to let some words come out his mouth like that. Like, have more integrity for yourself, white people, especially you, Jay Diaz. He treating you like a used up mop. White privilege, Deontay Wilder. Well, you supposed to be such this fight the power you for your black people, but you publicly tarnished Mark Breland, a black man, well accomplished Olympian and pro as a champion, where nobody in the world has no bad things to say about Mark Breland. But you quietly, and Joseph, listen to when I say this, he quietly, denounced Jay Diaz and put him back one, the white man. So Deontay Wilder, if anybody giving out white privilege, it's you. Because you publicly tarnished the black man, you quietly demoted the white man in Jay Diaz. So if anyone's giving white privilege, it's you, sir.
Oh my gosh. Karray, and for that, you get the Warwick round of applause, brother. And there you go. I tell you what, Karray, is so what is traditionally known as an Uncle Tom? Because I remember when Javen was doing an interview with the barbershop racism, what is it called? Barbershop racism conversations, whatever it is.
Yep.
Okay. Someone actually called him an Uncle Tom on the broadcast. So what would you call JDs in the black community? What would you call him? What would you call him? Uncle Philip? Is that what you call him? Uncle Philip?
But
Uncle
Joseph,
Philip, JDs.
That's why I can't take Deontay Wilder seriously. And I'm serious when I say this. Anybody who is a white friend of Deontay Wilder, I look at you differently. Because you'll sit up here and let this man sit up here and say some malicious things about your race, and you still hang around this guy? Oh,
Look, this is the thing that kills me about all of this, and this is why it's so bad for the sport. And once again, guys, Karray and I we're hired by Fight Saga to objectively cover the sport. All right, we don't have any emotional attachment to any fighter or any trainer or anything like that. Yeah, we're friends with a lot of people, but we don't let that factor into our assessment of the way things play out, right? We are very pro sport, first and foremost. We're pro boxing. If it's not good for the sport, we're going to call it out as such. If it's good for the sport, we're going to endorse it, right?
Facts.
Everything else is a very distant second. Okay, and I'm saying that Deontay Wilder is such a terrible ambassador for the sport. And fighters wonder why we can't get mainstream endorsement for these fights and these fighters and these events. No mainstream product wants to attach itself to boxing because of any of this nonsense, because of the racial, because of the race baiting, because of the accusations of cheating. This is so bad for the health of the sport. So if anyone thinks I'm just picking on Deontay Wilder just because of the color of his skin, nope. It's because of the definition of his character.
Hey, and Joseph, who gives
He's
a
a
shit?
buffoon.
Now, hold up, Joseph. Who gives a shit? This ain't black championship boxing. This ain't white championship boxing. This ain't Hispanic championship boxing, Asian championship boxing, or African championship boxing. This is called world championship boxing. We see
That's
no
right.
color when it comes to world championship boxing. Believe that.
Look, we understand that the sport of boxing, because it doesn't have any teams like in other leagues, like in the NFL, if you root for the Cowboys, boy, as long as you're wearing the star on their helmet, you don't give a shit where they come from. You're going to cheer for them because they're the Cowboys, right? Mm-hmm. Just like in basketball, if you're wearing that yellow jersey of the Lakers, you don't give a shit what color you are. You're going to root for them because they're one of the Lakers. Mm-hmm. Boxing doesn't have that luxury. And boxing has always been tribal as a result.
Oh, and another thing.
Hold on. Fans will naturally gravitate towards race, nationality, culture, ethnicity, whatever. But it can't get to the point where it becomes unhealthy for the sport. And unfortunately, what are they called again? All the LGBT guys? What are they called? The gay and lesbian?
Yeah, them.
Oh, okay. That is crossing the line. That is when it becomes unhealthy for the sport. When you have these racially driven diatribes, right? And I said this on your show last week. Mm-hmm. Guys, unfortunately, because of the way Deontay Wilder and his band of goons, his cult followers, have treated this event, this has become now the most racially charged, racially driven prize fight since Holmes versus Cooney in 1982. Mm-hmm. Sad to say. And to be honest with you, boy, you couldn't pay me enough to cover this event because there are going to be so many fights, and you may even see one of these idiot cult followers of Deontay Wilder try to assassinate and shoot or stab Tyson Fury before the fight at one of these media events.
Seriously. And you know what? He put it out there too. Like I read in between the line of a lot of the slick talk that I heard fighters say. And Deontay Wilder, the audacity of this dirtbag to say, how y'all American fighters gonna love a British fighter? Who the hell do you think you are to tell me who I could like? Because I'm American. Motherfuckers, us over here as Americans, that's what we got to do. We free to like who the hell we want to like. I grew up liking Lennox Lewis as a fighter. He wasn't American. He was from across the pond. It ain't your choice, Deontay Wilder, for you to spew that hate, to try to play a divide and conquer and tell us because we're Americans, we have to only like American fighters. So we're supposed to like an excuse-making, ignorant, dirtbag cornball like you because you're American? I think not.
You know, and it's so easy to just throw out the race card. Say, oh, people don't like me because I'm black. No, people don't like you because you're a fucking idiot.
Exactly.
That's the reality. You're a fucking idiot, and you're a sore loser, and you're a cancer for the sport of boxing. That's the reality, guys. So on July 24th, if you hear the majority of the fans in the Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada, cheering for Tyson Fury, it's not that they're racist. It's because no one likes you, Deontay.
That's right.
Aside from your cult following, no one likes you. You're a cancer for the sport, and you either need to shut the fuck up or go away because you're ultimately bad for boxing. That's my final thought. Your final thoughts on this before we start talking about our final topic of the evening.
Yeah, everybody on War Week Radio, the black man, he talking about white privilege. This the same motherfucker who made $25 million fighting that fight last year, but he talking about white privilege. Yeah, okay. Name me another white fighter besides Tyson Fury who making $25 million a goddamn fight.
Only Canelo.
You know, and Canelo Hispanic though. I'm talking about a white, like, you know.
No, he's still good. Oh, you mean Anglo? You mean an Anglo American?
Yeah.
Okay, none, zero, zilch. Caleb Plant isn't making that kind of money.
The nerve of this bum, man, and not like a bum, like he's a bum mentality wise. He's a bum. He is what you call toxic for this sport of boxing that we cover. We don't need these guys in boxing because that's not moving us forward in boxing. It's trying to play a divide and conquer. It's trying to race bait to make it look like it's better for certain type of ethnicities when it's not. Boxing is a sport. I know for sure. It don't matter what color you is, what race you are. If you are bad, mother, shut your mouth. That's just what you is. Ask Sanusi. Ask Manny Pacquiao. Ask a lot of the great Mexican fighters. Ask a lot of the great black fighters. Ask a couple of the great white fighters. As a matter of fact, before tonight's broadcast with Joseph, I had a chance to jump on another broadcast and I interviewed a great white fighter. I mean, I had a chance to ask a great white fighter a question in Kelly Pavlik. See how rare that is, brother, that we name a white fighter? That's, come on, now this ain't, and look, no disrespect to white people. I love white people. But this is not a white man's sport in boxing. That's just facts. Just like hockey isn't a black man's sport, even though a black man created it, but it's not a black man's sport. It's not.
Well, I tell you what, on that note, brother, it's time for torpedo number 2.
Yes,
and there you have it.
Yes,
Woo! So, guys, we're going to move to our final topic of the night. Can you read that for me, Karray? What does that say, brother?
Yes, sir. It says final flurries on flurries on Devin Haney performance and future at the 135-pound division.
Yep. I tell you what, guys, this past Saturday night, we saw Devin Haney victorious, retaining his WBC lightweight title against veteran Jorge Linares. Boy, but he didn't do it without facing a little bit of adversity in the back third of the fight. We have a mixed bag of criticism here. There are a lot of Devin Haney's fans who are completely oblivious to the fact that he struggled a bit. I tell you what, before we move on, let's hold on. Before we start getting knee deep in this topic, right? Let's feature our brother Peter, who joined us once again. Thank you for spending this Wednesday evening with us, Peter. And he has this to say. At the end of the day, Wilder will have to beat Fury like Cotto beat Margarito on the second fight to be able to open his big mouth. You know what, Peter, thank you for joining us, brother, and thank you for your topic. And that's what it all boils down to, brother. It's like, dude, you put up or shut up. In your mind, Karray, and let's go back to that topic for a second. I know Deontay Wilder has had 18 months off, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's had 18 months off to heal, both mentally and physically. in his interview with Ray Flores, he stated that he was finally 100% injury-free and was of clear, sound mind and body. Okay. Do you think he beats Tyson Fury on July 24th?
Absolutely not. You know, one thing I understand about boxing is you have to be mentally, spiritually, and physically all together. It can't be one of the two. It have to be all of the three working on all cylinders. You understand me? And one thing mentally Deontay Wilder has not been able to do is get over his first loss in the sport of boxing. Like, I understand, it's like a big pill for Deontay Wilder, and it's hard to swallow. But it's been 18 months. It been 18 months, Joseph.
Yep.
18 months. This guy has had a chance to just accept this, and as stubborn and as arrogant as he is, he did not do that by any means. Like you said, not only did he not try to get over it, he doubled down on everything, just like it was yesterday. My thing is Deontay Wilder will get beat in this fight in a ferocious and malicious way by Tyson Fury, bro. Because one thing you do not do, you do not keep poking at a ticking timing bomb. And we all know that's what Tyson Fury is. My thing with Deontay Wilder, he is an embarrassed man, right? I want everybody to understand me when I say this. He's embarrassed because y'all heard Mr. ILTBA just tell everybody, just being honest and unbiased. Boxing is not a white man sport. It just ain't.
Well,
it ain't been like that.
Well, look. Regardless of all of that.
I know. But
no. Hold on. Regardless of all of that, what he needs is a sports psychiatrist.
Yep.
And there are sports psychiatrists to get athletes through mental blocks, things like this, right? This is what he should have been doing in his time off. But it's obvious, listening to that terrible interview with Ray Flores, that he has yet to reconcile this. This is a huge problem for him. He still believes that he did nothing wrong, and it wasn't because of his deficiencies that he lost. So with all of those training videos with Malik Scott, do you really think any of that is going to do any good if he doesn't realize it was because of his deficiencies that he got his ass whooped?
Nope.
No.
Nope. He's too arrogant.
Yep. He's too full of himself. He's living in fantasy land. In his mind, he is the king of Wakanda. He truly believes he's the Black Panther. Like, seriously, man, this guy's living in a fictitious universe. He's insane. Deontay Wilder he's lost it. Dude, he sounds like a Scientologist. Oh, let's all hail L. Ron Hubbard.
Oh, what's his name?
He sounds like a freak. He sounds like a weirdo, man.
He sounds like Tom Cruise.
He does. He sounds like Tom Cruise. Oh, man, let me tell you about Scientology. Well, no, thank you, brother. Shit. This guy is nuts.
Oh, shit.
He's completely bought the farm, man. This guy is certifiable. And because of that, he gonna get his ass whooped on July 24th. Tyson Fury is once again gonna lay the wood to this moron. And I tell you what, I don't ever cheer for prize fighters, but on this day, I will stand up and I will applaud Tyson Fury for finally ridding the sport of boxing of its biggest cancer, the racist idiot that is Deontay Wilder.
Facts. That's why I say he embarrassed. He lost to a white man, Joseph. I hate
you know
to
what?
say it, but it's the truth.
Well, you know what? Well, you know what? That's his own damn fault for being so damn ignorant. Okay? He said, oh, man, everyone knows that this guy can't punch. He's got no power. Dude, when you're facing any heavyweight over 250 pounds, they can knock your ass out on any given night. On any given night.
Hey, Joseph, but you know what? You brought up a great point the other day when we was talking offline about, can you explain that to everybody about how Malik Scott is doing all the right things by Deontay Wilder?
Oh, let me tell you guys. And Malik Scott, in that one interview they did with 78 Racism, whatever it's called, he said a lot of wacky things that really didn't make any sense, like, oh, Deontay Wilder's the closest thing to Muhammad Ali and rubbish, whatever. Guys, he doesn't believe that. He's saying that for the benefit of Deontay Wilder, his fighter. And guys, it's not uncommon for a trainer or anyone on his team to try and bolster the confidence level of their fighter going into the biggest fight of his career, right? This is not uncommon, guys. In fact, this is probably therapeutic for Deontay Wilder right now. This is what he needs, because he was embarrassed after getting stopped by a guy that he called Pillow Fist, right? Not only was he beaten, but he was stopped. He was knocked out. Even though he said, oh, his traitor, what did he call Mark Breland? What did he actually call him?
Disloyal trainer.
Disloyal trainer, right? Even though he called him a disloyal trainer, right? Hold on, brother. Hold on real quick. Okay. Even though we called him a disloyal trainer, throwing in the towel. Brother, it was only a matter of time before Kenny Bayless stepped in and stopped the fight. Yep. Because you were getting your ass whooped. You couldn't even stand up. You were completely dependent on the ropes to hold you up. It was only a matter of time before the third man in the ring called a halt to the bout. Yep. Mark Breland just helped him out and did what everyone else was thinking. Look, everyone that I talked to, all the sports writers that covered that fight, they all insist to me that you could make a case for stopping the fight after round 5, after the second knockdown, because it just wasn't competitive any longer. Deontay Wilder was just taking a beating. Right? Yep. That's it. Okay, that's it. To you. And so Malik Scott is now trying to repair the psyche of Deontay Wilder. And he's doing a good job of it, because now you're hearing him opening up his stupid big mouth again. So obviously he's getting back his confidence. He's getting back his mojo, right? That's right. So once again, and also he's trying to add new wrinkles to his fight game. I like what I see in the sparring or in the mitt work. He's using feints. He's throwing hooks to the body. He's stepping around his opponent. He's doing everything right. But is that going to stick? Is he going to commit that to muscle memory in 2 months? Guys, everything is going to change, and he's going to resort back to the old Deontay Wilder as soon as he catches the first good right hand in the chops. As soon as he gets belted, he's going to resort to what he always does, become emotional, and he just windmills in the ring. Yep. Deontay Wilder can throw a great jab. He can throw a good 1-2. He's more technically proficient than most people give him credit. But unfortunately, his biggest enemy in the ring is himself. Whenever he gets too emotional, all technique, everything that he's learned goes out the window very quickly. And he starts resorting to merely windmilling. And you're going to see the same thing happen with the very first good right hand that lands from Tyson Fury. That's the reality, guys. So although Malik Scott, credit to him, he's doing a great job. Too little too late, brother. It's not going to help.
I agree 100%.
So I tell you what, let's go back to our final topic of the day, right? And let's talk about Devin Haney, right? Look, I've spoken with several Devin Haney supporters and fans today. They seem to be completely oblivious to the fact that Devin Haney completely fell apart in the back third of that fight. Like, if you talk to them and if you ask them, they will insist that Devin Haney fought a great fight and that he won 10 out of the 12 rounds of action. Well, according to the judges at ringside, he won 8 of 12 and 7 of 12. That's it. And why? Because I'll say this. He fought a perfect fight in the first 8 rounds. But then all of a sudden in round 9, in round 10, you started to see him lose energy, lose focus. He started to fight Linares in the pocket. And no, he didn't do it for entertainment reasons. He didn't want to close the show in style. Guys, he did it out of necessity. He ran out of gas. You saw his punches. They didn't have that same crispness. They weren't short. They weren't compact. They went hard. He was pushing his shots. He fought in the pocket out of necessity. He wasn't being a good sport and, oh, you know what? I'm dominating this. Let's give my opponent a fighting chance. No, he did not do that. He fought in the pocket out of necessity because he couldn't use the entire ring any further. He ran out of gas. And why? How does a 22-year-old, well-conditioned athlete run out of gas after round 8? Guys, it's the same thing that Deontay Wilder suffers from. It's called anxiety. There's a whole lot of mental anguish and stress that he's experiencing in the ring, and he doesn't know how to handle it. That's why he continuously runs out of gas at the end of every fight. That's why he ran out of gas against Linares. And for some strange reason, Devin Haney fans are oblivious to this. Guys, I'm sorry. Until he repairs this, you will not see Bill Haney, his dad and trainer, lobby or petition for a fight opposite Teofimo Lopez. I know going into the fight, they were all talk. They said they wanted that fight after this. Watch and see, guys. Mark my words. You're going to see them be happy to fight the winner of Fortuna and Diaz in July, which is going to be their mandatory. They're going to be very satisfied fighting the winner of Fortuna Diaz in the fall. You're not going to see them fight any of the elite at 35 until possibly 2022, if he can still even make 135 pounds at that time. Your thoughts on this, Karray?
Oh, yeah, I just agree with you 100% to the T on your assessment of Devin Haney. It's like people get a blank thought of reality and they get a vision of lost in the sauce. And that's what a lot of people are. They lost in the sauce on what they seen of Devin Haney because they so high on him. But man, Joseph, you keep making excellent points when you talk about his anxiety, right? And how he got tired down and stuff like that, and how it just started getting too much. Because
look. The only two things that make sense in terms of looking for answers as to why. Because keep in mind, this was a kid who spent his entire camp working with strength and conditioning experts Remy Corkamy and Victor Conti to increase his strength and conditioning, right? Mm-hmm. So how does a guy who's been working in camp with experts like this run out of gas midway through the fight? How does that happen? So it's one of two things, Karray. One of two things. One, he suffers from anxiety. Two, he is having trouble making 135 and it's weakened him. Those are the only two things that make sense.
Yeah. But
because I'm sorry, correct me if I'm wrong, was Linares applying a ton of pressure in that fight?
Nope.
Nope. So once again, guys, it's like I hate to break this to you, Devin Haney fans, but he's going to have a boatload of trouble against guys who have serious power, like Teofimo Lopez, like Tank Davis, like Ryan Garcia, and a brilliant inside fighter like Vasyl Lomachenko, or a guy who's big and durable for 35 like Nakatani or Richard Comey. In my opinion, Devin Haney has trouble with all of the fighters that I just mentioned at this time. And after the way he ended the fight, Karray, can you realistically see Javier Fortuna and Jojo Diaz showing him the same amount of respect that Jorge Linares showed him on Saturday night?
Oh no, because one thing about boxing and just being in the public where you have visual of a person, now you got tape to see exactly what this dude do wrong. Because let's give Devin Haney credit. Before this fight, he won 52 out of 53 of his rounds. So it was never no tape on Devin Haney where you could realistically observe and come up with a game plan, because he was just that good the way he used his mid to long range ability to work the ring and just beat somebody with his jab. Like you stated, Joseph, when we was talking, his jab, that jab he throw is amazing. But like you say, it all goes back to anxiety, right? And I think even T.O. suffered with that. But T.O. showed that he was ready for the moment. These guys who talk a lot, they have to, like when you talk a lot and you build yourself up, Joseph, you have to stand up to that. Like you have to be that person who you've been barking and saying who you is. And I think that part of it caught up with Devin Haney to where it was like his anxiety started going so much, he gassed out. So I just think what happened with him was, and what happened to a lot of fighters, they talk themselves up so much, then when they get in there with somebody who is on their same level, we see stuff like we did to Devin Haney. Give him credit.
That's an excellent point. That's an excellent point, Karray, because look, if anyone thinks we're being too harsh on Devin Haney, and once again, our job is to remain objective and to cover the sport without emotion, right? We just call it like we see it. If you think we're being too harsh, well, I don't think so. Look, when you're being promoted as the next Floyd Mayweather and being touted as the next big thing in boxing, it's gonna come with all of the criticism. When you're a WBC champion, you have a target on your back. You're gonna get all of the criticism. Keep in mind, guys, this is a champion now. He's no longer just a 22-year-old prospect. He is a champion. So I know you're going through some things, Devin, but you better rectify them quickly, because you're a champion, brother. Your learning curve is very short now. Once again, all credit to him. He fought a perfect fight for 8 rounds.
Hey,
But
Joseph,
can
I'm
you
not
keep
trying to
that up?
interrupt you.
Go ahead, sir.
I'm not trying to interrupt you, but I just want you to speak on this because I want you to speak on this about and I think this play a part. You broke this down a couple of weeks ago on how American fighters uh, don't take boxing as seriously as they used to, and how the European fighters or the fighters across the pond, they are taking fighting seriously.
Oh my gosh, and even at the club level, look, Devin Haney's a hardworking kid. He knows how to fight, right? Um, but you go into any gym and you see half the fighters, they're going to be on their phones on social media. There's one of the reasons why our colleague James Gogi now trains fighters exclusively in Leon, Mexico, in his high altitude gym, right, in his training facility, because he can't stand working with these entitled bitches from America. They all want to be Floyd Mayweather. And they don't want to have to deal with someone who's actually screaming orders. This is one of the things that Emmanuel Stewart professed to me before he died. He said, you know what, Joseph? Fighters just aren't the same anymore. If I want something done, you know what, I'll tell them and they had better do it, or else I don't want them in my gym. Fighters don't want to receive that kind of instruction any further. Not in America anyway. They want to be the boss. They want to be able to say when they train, how they train, and they don't want to hear anything else. They want to make a fortune for small touches, for soft touches. This is a reason why I firmly believe Teofimo Lopez versus Devin Haney will not be made anytime soon. You've got Devin Haney, who just made $3 million to fight a 35-year-old veteran who's been knocked out 5 times, right? How much do you think he's going to expect to make to face Teofimo Lopez? How much? He's going to demand at least
A
double
lot.
that amount. He's going to demand at least double that amount. And then you've got Teofimo Lopez. Once again, same thing. He's been paid an inflated purse by Triller. Almost $4 million for a mandatory challenge. How much do you think he's going to expect to step in the ring with Devin Haney? Probably double that amount. Right? Probably double that amount. So, guys, if you're hoping that Lopez versus Haney gets made this year, well, think again, brother. It's not going to happen. But, guys, we've gone 2 hours into the show. So we're going to give you our parting shots. I'm going to thank everyone for spending their Wednesday evening with us. Karray, your parting shots for our listening audience tonight.
Man, I just want to thank everybody on War Week Radio who tune in every time a broadcast come up. Y'all, like, I want y'all to know how much we appreciate y'all who tune in, because if it wasn't for y'all, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. I want to give a big shout out to my guy Joseph Herron, one of the most intellectual boxing minds I have ever had the opportunity to speak with. Like, when I tell you this dude is the truth, y'all know how I say truth. TRUF. Truth. Shout out to FightSaga.com. Y'all need to make sure y'all go get the latest and greatest news off of FightSaga.com. It's a website that's like no other. When you want boxing and you want the insights of everything from A to Z, on Fight Saga, we cover the North, the South, the East, and the West. It's the best boxing platform when it comes to news and all the major articles that's going on in the sport of boxing. So I really advise everybody to make sure y'all go to FightSaga.com. Shout out to the editor in chief, Lee Cleveland, for making Fight Saga possible. And I just appreciate that, man. Shout out to everybody on here from that 214 to across the pond. Thank you again, Joseph, for bringing me on here for another week, another exciting show.
God bless you, Karray. Thank you, man, for all of your efforts. Thank you for your thoughts. And guys, go check out Karray Bradshaw's recent article, his post-fight commentary on Fight Saga right now, his final thoughts on Devin Haney, and his personal thoughts on his future at 135 pounds. But guys, that's going to just about do it. On behalf of Karray Bradshaw, I'm Joseph Herron. Please subscribe to War Week Radio in case you haven't. And please bookmark FightSaga.com for all of the exclusive writing and articles from myself, Karray Bradshaw, and Lee Cleveland. Guys, God bless everyone. Have a wonderful Wednesday evening, everybody.